Happy Halloween, Hokie Nation. Welcome back to another video edition of the TSL Friday Q&A. As Virginia Tech is coming off a huge double overtime win over Cal last weekend, they get ready to host Louisville tomorrow at 3 p.m. inside Lane Stadium. Before we get into things, introductions are in order. As always, I'm Robert Bateman, joined alongside by Chris Coleman on set. And as always, behind the scenes, it's Nick Brown pushing the buttons. You ready to get into things?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So our first question comes from IA Hokie, who asked, how can VT up its NIL game and how important is it?
It's extremely important. You know, when you go after coaches, that they're going to want to know exactly how much NIL money that they're going to have. And that's going to be very, very important. Some coaches will want more than others. Some you'll have to give more than you give others because you have competition for that coach. But it's important for Virginia Tech to raise as much as possible no matter who their coach is. I've heard they've made some major strides there over the last few weeks. It's unclear to me whether that's like contingent on like James Franklin being the next coach or not, but I'm confident that Virginia Tech's going to have more NIL no matter who the coach is. But I think there are certain coaches out there that would probably bring in a little bit more with their names, and he would probably be one of them. I think it's very important, again, to get the Hokie Club ramped up, whereas the Hokie Club doesn't directly raise money for NIL, but at the same time, a Hokie Club that's running on all cylinders, those people are forming personal relationships with big donors, and that's been lacking for quite a while now. Some really good Hokie Club employees left when Bill Lanston was the head of the Hokie Club, and they were never adequately replaced. And as a result, some relationships were lost amongst the athletic department, Hokie Club, and some big donors. And Hokie Club's got to be restructured, some of the, reestablish some relationships and things like that. I think the board right now is doing a good job itself raising some NIL money, but from a long-term perspective, you got to get the Hokie Club back and get those relationships straightened out, and I think that'll help.
So what does straightening out those relationships look like exactly? Because you talk about repairing it and whatnot, but what exactly do you want to see happen?
Well, I mean, I think fundraising is all about having relationships, and Virginia Tech has probably gotten a little bit too transactional. I've tailgated with with Hokie Club employees and things like that before, and they're very good at going around the parking lots and meeting with their donors, like in the tailgating lots, and just establishing a personal relationship with them. Fundraising isn't about just calling somebody up and say, hey, can you give me $5,000 for this? It's establishing relationships with people, and then a lot of times they'll come to you and say, I'd like to donate. Where do you think the money could best be used right now? So I think the Hokie Club has to be restaffed, and I'm not saying a bunch of people need to get fired, but that you need to add people to it, people that are good at relationships and things like that. That's coming. It's not going to happen right now, though, because they're a little bit busy with some other hires, obviously.
All right. Well, our next question comes from Jay Hanks 98, who wants to know, what kind of effect do you think the recent budget increases and also likely increases in NIL will have on Virginia Tech's high school recruiting?
It should help it. Ideally, you have a highly paid coaching staff that is good at recruiting, and they understand recruiting, not just the state of Virginia, but the entire mid-Atlantic region, the entire 6-hour radius or whatever from around Blacksburg. I mean, this is the school that needs to recruit, from as far north as Pennsylvania, as far west as Ohio, and down south into South Carolina and Georgia, with the occasional foray into Florida. You've got to have a lot of people who understand recruiting in that area, and a bigger budget allows you the opportunity to hire better coaches who understand that. And I think, so yes, it should help. And NIL, I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, you can tell guys, look, if you'll get this and if you come here, but if you're good, then you'll have an opportunity to make this. And the bigger your budget is, the bigger promises you can make. So, yeah, I mean, it certainly has a chance to have a positive impact.
How much value do you see in high school recruiting still? Just because with NIL and whatnot and the transfer portal being as prevalent as it is, I feel like people are starting to really lean more heavily into recruiting the portal compared to recruiting in high school.
Go back to Virginia Tech's 3 receiving touchdowns against Cal. Who scored them?
I believe it was Takai Heath.
2 of them.
Yeah.
And then Aiden Green, the first
Green,
one.
Yeah.
And where did they come from?
They both came from
high school. Did
yeah.
they not? Yes. High school recruiting is still going to be more important than anything for Virginia Tech. You cannot go out and sign a new team every year in the portal. What Virginia Tech did this past year was necessary because Brent Pry was trying to save his job. And yes, the portal is going to be very important for Virginia Tech, but you can't go out there and try to sign 16 new starters every year in the portal. I mean, that's unsustainable. It's also more expensive. You can get a hometown discount by recruiting at the high school level and developing guys. And yes, they're going to get tampered with. They're going to get offers. But a lot of them are going to say, you know what, for an extra 50 grand, I'm not going to transfer because I've been developed here. I'm happy here. The grass is not always greener on the other side. So for me, high school recruiting and development is still extremely important.
So hypothetically, if you're choosing between the two, you're going to put more money into that high school recruiting compared to the portal?
It's hard to say because I don't know how much guys are making, right? Unless they released a list of everybody's salaries, which is basically what they are, and NIL, whatever they're making from that. It's really hard to say because what a guy makes out of high school, I don't know. Let's say you tell a high school kid, we'll give you 25 grand as a true freshman, and he comes in, he makes that as a true freshman, but then he's starting as a sophomore. What is he making then? 200, 250? I really don't know. So it's so hard to say because that's a high school player, right? He's the one you recruited, but now you're paying him like you would pay a portal guy, which you have to keep him. So I really do wish we get to a point one day where there is collective bargaining and you could publish numbers and see what guys are making and everybody could understand the situation a whole lot better.
Well, we're surrounded by financial issues, and luckily Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company. Manage your money with ease. First Bank and Trust Company's industry-leading digital banking experience provides you with all of the essential tools to manage your full banking relationship from one convenient platform. Access digital banking through the online banking login on desktop and tablet devices or on the go through the First Bank and Trust Company mobile banking app. Who you choose to bank with can make all the difference. Choose First Bank and Trust Company with over 30 locations in Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Well, that sets us up for our last
smooth
question.
Transition.
I've been trying to work on it, get a little smoother on the segues. Well, our last question comes from Kay Pileski, who was curious. Have you heard of any Power 4 teams using AI to break down game film, break down trends/schemes, evaluate players, determine NIL value, etc.?
I have not. I don't think AI is that advanced yet. I think AI is capable of giving people some good ideas and can make some neat art and everything like that. But I've experimented with it some during this coaching search and things like that, and saying, what is such and such person's record against top 25 teams? And it'll give me a number, and then I'll go research it myself, and it was wrong. AI was wrong. It just didn't compute it properly. So I think AI has still got a long way to go when it comes to stuff like that. And honestly, I'm kind of against that anyway. Like, what are we going to do? Like, take away all the human error?
To me, it feels like you lose the eye test, Like some players, you just don't see their stats show up in the box score, but they're solid. Like a guy like Mansour Delane, right? People don't throw at him this year at LSU.
Right.
But still a great guy on paper.
Yeah, and absolutely right. And I don't know, man. I like the human error aspect of sports. I like being able to yell at an umpire if I'm at a baseball game. I actually don't do that, but can you imagine? Can you imagine like a baseball? I know some people are in favor of this, like balls and strikes being called by a robot or computers. It's like, I don't know. I enjoy the human aspect of sports, right? Even when a ref in a football game blows a call. Like, what are you going to do during a game if your computer breaks, right?
The one that annoys me the most is in soccer with VAR and offsides, and they'll call them offsides because, like, their big toe is over the line, and it's like, what are we talking about?
Instant replay was never right. Instant replay was never intended to analyze every little blade of grass, which you can do with HDTV now, right? But when replay came out, it was it was designed to get rid of clear and obvious errors, not to take 3 minutes or 8 minutes to determine whether a guy caught a pass in the end zone, like the Miami game last year. That's a little bit off topic. I'm sure as AI advances and everything like that, maybe you will see some of that. I'm sure we will creep into sports, but I think you also have to be careful, man, that this is a human game. And if you take too much of the humanity out of it, I'm not sure how much fun it'll be.
Well, hopefully everyone has a great Halloween tonight. Before you get into the festivities of trick-or-treating or whatnot that you have planned, be sure to check out the rest of the Tech Sideline YouTube page and all of our socials, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We've been covering Virginia Tech's upcoming matchup with Louisville all week, so be sure to check out everything we've posted. If you want to be featured in next week's Friday Q&A, feel free to drop any comments down below in the comments section. We'll be sure to look them over, and you might get featured on next week's video. A big thank you to Chris Coleman on set, as always. Nick Brown behind the scenes. I'm Robert Bateman saying happy Halloween, and we'll see you next Friday.